and stick him straight up. Then can the ass.
Pick your goal and stick fucking to it. You wishy-washy motherfuckers. I can't fucking stand you.
I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time. You make the time.
And now, welcome to the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by FitnessInformant.com.
What's going on? Welcome inside episode 20 of the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. I am your host, Fitness Informant, CEO, and founder. See, I switched it up this time. Ryan Buckeye. Want to welcome you inside. Like I said, episode 22, 0 episodes in. We started this podcast last May, and we started with Ronnie Coleman, who's the 8-time Mr. Olympia Champion. And episode 20 features the man who knocked him off the King of the Mountain, or knocked him off as King of the Mountain in the Olympia, going to win 4 Mr. Olympias himself. The one and only Jay Cutler is on the show today to talk about Cutler Nutrition, his new product launch that come out, which is really good, and we talk about how it is really good compared to the old Jay Cutler line, which was under BPI. So we talk a little bit about that and the difference between the BPI line and what he has going on now with Cutler Nutrition. I actually got a chance to catch up with Jay at the 2019 Arnold Classic as well. Actually, I just got back from Columbus, Ohio after an insane weekend. I've been to the Olympia before, and the Olympia is cool. It's Vegas, right? So Vegas is awesome. Vegas in September is great. And Columbus in March isn't necessarily the most sexy thing, but for the sports nutrition side of the world, it was amazing. It was 5 times better than the Olympia in terms of the expo itself, the brands that were there, the people that were there. I mean, the crowds were massive to the point where it was annoying a bit, right? And I think it has a lot to do with the way they structure the Arnold Classic in terms of the layout of the expo floor, because you have all these booths and all these vendors that are exhibiting their products. But then you also have competition going on. So there's a big stage. And at the Olympia, they put the stage way to the back. So it's not necessarily impeding traffic. But in Columbus, the stage is kind of in the middle. And people stop and they watch the stage. And that backs up traffic and it makes it extremely hard. Not to mention it was extremely freaking hot in there. But at the end of the day, I am just blown away by the Arnold Classic and how awesome it was. And it was really awesome for us as a brand to go to the Arnold Classic. So I need to hop into this. And this week's Pumped Up segment of the week is going to be brought to you by Built Fast Formula's award-winning Vaso Blitz Pumping There. Not only is Vaso Blitz the winner of our 2018 Shield of Excellence Supplement Award for the best pump product, but it is also the first nitrate formula fully disclosed with 30 servings. That's right, not scoops, 30 servings. When Vaso Blitz is consumed daily, even on your off days, it will last you a full month. All this for only $34.99. And as a special offer to this audience, use coupon code INFORMANT to save 15% off. So I'm actually pumped up about 2 things. First off, Built Fast Formula is coming out with a new product. I actually talked about this 2 weeks ago on the podcast. They have Full Blitz, and Full Blitz is available now. Full Blitz launched yesterday, launched on Monday, and this is a stim-based pre-workout with basically it's Vaso Blitz, their pump product, with added caffeine, with added beta-alanine, added DMAE, which is amazing for cognitive enhancement, and it also adds a little bit of yohimbine as well. So the one thing people might say, well, yohimbine, that actually kind of constricts blood flow. Yes, it can at large amounts, but I will tell you from experience, Full Blitz is really well done. It's not a crazy scratch your face off energy. It's a nice euphoric energy. You have really good cognitive enhancing from the DMAE and the mixture of caffeine and yohimbine, and the nitrates at 2 grams, and they still have betaine, and they have citrulline, and they have calcium lactate. It's still a very good product. You get a very euphoric feeling in the gym, and also you still sustain a really good pump. That is available now, and it's actually a special. So it launched on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You buy that. You're also going to get a 7-serve of Vaso Blitz, because Full Blitz is 24 days. Vaso Blitz is 7 days. That's a full 31-day supply of pumps from Built Fast Formula. You're also going to get a Hydromaster, and if you use promo code INFORMANT, you're going to save that 15% off that we just talked about. So that is something I'm pumped up about, but I'm also extremely pumped up about what happened at the Arnold Classic for FI. We took meetings for the first time since being a brand. And this time the meetings were requested by the brands. They weren't requested by me. And in the past, I was the one reaching out to these brands, sort of pleading for their time because I was passionate about what I was trying to achieve at FI. And they saw that passion. And that passion paid off, guys. I mean, 2.5 years in from FI, we met with a bunch of brands, a lot of cool stuff. Like a brand we met with, Black Market Labs, for instance. They did some really cool collab work with Myochem, and they did Inspired Nutraceuticals. They have a lot of good, cool things coming out this year that I'm excited to bring to you through FI and through our platform, because if you have not heard of Black Market Labs before or have not used a Black Market Labs product, we're going to have a plethora of them show up on FI shortly. And a ton of news on this brand in terms of what they're trying to do in 2019. Those are things that you don't hear on the expo floor. You have to take meetings. You have to get the inside scoop on these brands. And we got a lot of inside scoop from brands like Cellucor, obviously Black Market Labs, more inside scoop from brands like NutriBio and Redcon One, and just every brand. Matt Porter over at MPA Subs is coming out with a new flavor of their IsoPoof cereal, and we actually got a chance to interview a bunch of people for the YouTube channel. So if you go over to fitness or go to youtube.com/Fitness Informant TV, there is a playlist for the 2019 Arnold Classic. We talked to Jay Cutler, who obviously we're talking to today on the show. We talked to Branch Warren. We talked to Lane Norton, which was really interesting because I know Lane is very polarizing, but it's somebody that I respect in this world, and he has a very good perspective and point of view based on scientific backings and his theses in college. So he speaks with intelligence and with knowledge. We also spoke with Mark Glazer, who issued a friendly challenge to our fine friends over at Redcon One that he's going to come take the 2018 Brand of the Year basically away from Redcon One, and they're going to win it in 2019. He's challenging Aaron Sigerman to challenge him for the 2019 Brand of the Year, which at this point, it really could be those two brands going neck and neck, maybe with a couple of other ones as well, like Ghost and Olympus, who are out there as well. So for us, it's just, I kind of reflect back on what we've done as a brand over the first 2 years. And, we've got this momentum, and we've built this momentum, and it's based on that no bullshit. That has been the thing since day one. And anybody out there who tries to copycat it, they can. But here it is. We've been doing no bullshit for 2.5 years. We haven't wavered. We haven't changed. We haven't let anything introduce bias into that. And there's never going to be something that introduced bias into that, because I truly believe that if we stick to our guns, this no bullshit the stance that we have, and this point of view and this vision and this purpose within this space in the world of fitness and health in general, we're going to achieve something so much greater that brands are going to have no choice but to recognize what we're doing. And that's exactly what's happening. Walking the expo floor, there are brands who said, we love what you do. What you're doing is right for the industry. This industry is lucky to have you part of it. Like, those are things that we heard from CEOs of companies. I had fans come up to me and take pictures with me and want to talk to me about Fitness Informant, and people who would basically catcall from across the audience because it was, your way. It's like, keep up the good content, guys. Keep killing it. Keep doing what you're doing. And for me, that is so fucking gratifying, right? Like, we worked so hard at this. And for me personally, right? Like, I have been working so fucking hard at building FI over the last 2.5 years while still having a full-time job. For those of you who maybe be listening for the first time because Jay's on the show, I love it. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the podcast. Write a review. It helps out the algorithm. But for those of you who have been listening for a while, like some of the shit that I've gone through. I've talked to you guys about openly going on TRT and how that's changed my perspective and changed my life. But all along on building FI platform over the last 2.5 years, I had a full-time job somewhere. For like the last year, I was a brand manager for a Fortune 500 company, a really good job. And before that, I was a digital marketing director. So I've been very busy. You're 9 to 5, and I'm building this brand on part-time. But that stops today. Because today was the official last day of me working in corporate America. FitnessInformant.com, FI, Fitness Informant LLC, is now my full-time gig. This is my career. This is my passion. What we did and what I've been able to achieve with this has allowed me to walk away from the corporate America, walking away from working for the man, to work for myself and to work for you all, and to help this movement and push this movement forward and just keep this momentum going. Because, man, we are doing something special. Like, we're doing something really special in a world in which greed overshadowed a lot of things. And not anymore. Like, we're not going to allow greed to I was speaking with somebody at the expo, and I'll let him be unnamed. But he's a brilliant man, one of my great friends, one of my best friends in this business. And he said this. He said, my wife and I, we own a salon. And the minimum wage where I live is $15 an hour. And the price for our cut and color is $150. So that person who works minimum wage has to work 10 hours of their life to afford to pay for a haircut and a coloring. And he said that he tells the staff at the salon, you treat that person like they're a millionaire. You treat them with respect because they are working 10 hours of their life to get the service in which you're providing. The least that people can do in this industry is provide a product that actually is worth a damn. Because at a $50 pop of a pre-workout or a protein powder, and in America, if your minimum wage, say, is $10, you're working 5 hours just to pay for that one tub. That's a lot of money. And most people don't walk away with just one tub of something. They're buying a pre, a post, multivitamin, a probiotic, whatever it might be. Treat these fucking people with respect and make a goddamn product worth the money. Don't let greed overshadow what you want. And what I love about that too is Jay Cutler, whose new line, Cutler Nutrition, which we talk about tonight. It's not about greed. They're great formulas, high levels of expensive ingredients like alpha GPC, clinical dosages of other ingredients like citrulline. Like just solid pre-workouts, solid pump products, solid product line from a guy like Jay Cutler, who doesn't need to. He can live on the laurels of his name, like companies in the past have done to him. But he refused to do that. And I fucking love it. I love it so much. It makes me so happy. It's great to have people like Jay in the world who actually want to make a difference. People like Branch Warren, who I talked to at the Arnold, who's making great jerky and great meat-based products with high levels of protein. Like this is what we're talking about, people. This is good stuff. Our Genius Moment of the Week is going to be brought to you by the Genius brand. The Genius brand offers high-quality supplements with scientifically proven, clinically dosed, all-natural ingredients. With a blatant disregard for profit margins, the Genius brand focuses on creating innovative, industry-leading wellness supplements to help you live an active, healthy, and long-lasting life. Supplements smarter today. Check out full reviews of the Genius brand over at fitnessinformant.com. The Genius Moment of the Week is exactly what the Genius brand is doing. They are going to expand beyond Amazon. And for those of you who have been listening to this podcast week over week, you remember that Robert Oliver, CEO of the Genius brand, was on talking about how they want to expand beyond the Amazon platform. They are now taking meetings and trying to get into select retailers to make their product more available to others. Now, people are like, what do you mean more available? Everybody can get access to Amazon. Sure. But internationally, no. Right? And some people just don't shop on Amazon. Like, if I'm looking for a bodybuilding supplement, me personally, I'm not going to Amazon. Now, with that said, a lot of people do go to Amazon looking for nutritional supplements. I get that. But they want to reach out to retail, brick and mortar, something they've never been in before. And they want to educate that sales rep in those stores on the brand and what they're good for. That's genius. It's the right thing to do. And kudos to Robert Oliver and the new president, Mark Prost, for doing this stuff. Very cool stuff from the brand over at the Genius brand. We'll be covering this over at fitnessinformant.com as more comes to fruition in terms of what select retailers are going to get access to the Genius brand and where you can find that in your local markets as well. The hypertrophy tip of the week is brought to you by MuscleTech's new Nitro Tech ISO Whey. It's the purest whey protein isolate available on the market today. ISO Whey uses BioPro 97% isolate as the only protein source, while most isolate proteins on the market today use a protein source that's only up to 90% pure. ISO Whey also includes a revolutionary ingredient called prohydrolase, which has been scientifically proven to break down protein quicker into its biousable form, resulting in a 20% more amino acid uptake versus whey protein alone. Reduce discomfort, improve performance. Packed with 25 grams of protein per serving, less than 1 gram of carbs, and absolutely no fats and sugars, MuscleTech's Nitro Tech ISO Whey is a must for clean protein users. Hypertrophy tip of the week this week is follow Joe Bennett on every fucking platform that exists. He's called the Hypertrophy Coach for a reason. I talked to him again at the Arnold Classic this year. He was at the Redcon 1 booth. Just a gentleman, man. I mean, he's got 3 kids. He works hard. He trains people like Dave Bautista, who now is back in the WWE. He's going to have a match at WrestleMania. Looks phenomenal. You can give credit to Dave's work ethic for sure, but you have to give credit to his structures of his workouts to Joe Bennett, the hypertrophy coach, who's been on this podcast before. He talks about different, like attacking your muscles at different angles, using different forms of resistance, whatever it might take to shock that muscle, to tear those fibers so they can repair themselves, regrow, and get bigger. Definitely Joe Bennett, he might be the smartest guy in the world when it comes to training. I know for a long time it was Chuck Palquin, and unfortunately he passed away. And I know Joe looked up to Chuck significantly, and immensely. And now there are plenty of trainers on the planet today that look up to Joe, and Joe provides great information on all his social platforms, specifically Instagram. He's at Hypertrophy Coach. Check him out, follow him, learn how to build muscle more effectively. And speaking of hypertrophy, people have been asking, where is your 8-week hardcore hypertrophy program you've been promising? It'll be available this week, I promise. That is a guarantee. It's been written. It's all done. We are just doing a few tweaks to a few things, but it will be live here by the end of the week, no later. Because I told you earlier, Tuesday, this is my last day in corporate America, so I'll be able to work on F5 full-time, all-time, which is going to be awesome. Like, for those of you who aren't really sure what to expect from us moving forward, a lot of great educational content pieces, more of what you've come to expect from us, times it by 10. It's going to be just an immense increase in content that we're putting out. Final takeaways from the Arnold Classic before we hop into the one and only Jay Cutler is just, this industry is thriving, man. I mean, there are a lot of companies out there who had huge boosts and maybe they didn't walk away with a return on their investment, but just some really good stuff going on. I mean, we talked with people, we talked with NutriBio, Redcon One, we talked with Lobline over at MTS. We saw Pro Subs and we saw their other booths and Bang booth and just, all these booths, and people are just, it's thriving. This industry is thriving. It's great. Arnold has a ton of security. There's a video that we posted over our social channels of pretty much like 35 people clearing the way for Arnold. We are fortunately ran into Arnold twice. Obviously, he's not going to do the podcast. That would be a happy wish. We'd love that, but it didn't happen that way. But it was just great. It was an honor to be there, be part of the media team, to cover the event, to cover the booths, and to be involved in the industry. I mean, we went to dinner on Saturday night with Mark Glazer and the NutriBio team. And if you follow Mark on social, he posted about this, but it was myself, my VP of content, who's Gerhardt, and his team and him. And we were off kind of at the end of one table. We had two tables and we were off at the end of one table. And for the entire 3.5 hour dinner, we were just talking our passion, which is sports nutrition and the FDA regulations and the Shia Act and anything that kind of goes into supplements. And there was some debate and there was some conversation, but that's really how you educate each other. And you're learning from one of the best at Mark Glazer. I mean, this guy knows the Shia Act back and forth. He knows what's going on in Capitol Hill. He knows what's going on in terms of Prop 65 in California. And it's really good conversation that my goal is to, if I'm doing this full time, I need to learn as much as I can about everything. And that means that's every law or regulation that pertains to this industry. That is manufacturing. I'm meeting with suppliers. We're coming out with an education portal on ingredients at Fitness Informant. You want to know what Dynamine is? We got that. You want to know what Vaso 6 is? We got that. You want to know what nitrosogene is? We got that. And we're going to have the accurate information, the accurate doses right on fitnessinformant.com. So you can literally look at a pre-workout in a store, go to our website, Google those ingredients, and find out if it's dosed correctly or not in that pre-workout. That is coming soon to fitnessinformant.com. Make sure you follow us on our social media channels. We're at Fitness Informant on Instagram, right? Facebook.com/Fitness Informant on Facebook, at Fit Informant on Twitter. We're actually going to start using Twitter a little bit more because it's easier to kind of just get out there. We're going to install a chat function to our website here shortly too, so that way you guys can just reach out to us if you have questions. We want that personal connection with you every single day that we can, and I realize that you guys want that from me, and with all the DMs that I get and the people I ran into at the expo floor. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna let this go. Just really exciting time right now. Really exciting time for F5. Exciting time for this industry. And you're gonna find all that news, all that content, all the information available that we think is relevant for you and relevant for people in this space at our website, fitnessinformant.com.
The BAR Breakfast at the Ready is finally here. The world's first protein bar made with real cereal pieces from some of your favorite cereals and the best cereals of all time. This bar has 20 grams of protein, only 20 grams of carbohydrates, with 5 of them coming from sugar, and 4 grams of fat, 190 delicious calories that you can fit in at any time. Any person can take this bar, man, woman, child, whether you're working out, you're training to build muscle, or you just need a healthy snack throughout the day. The BAR is your solution. Go to redcon1.com and order the BAR Breakfast at the Ready right now.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way. It just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
I've spent most of my life chasing what's termed as unattainable. An obstacle in my path, I torment it. Any limitation trying to control my environment, I tame it. Any excuses, I transform into commitments. The haters, they're too small for me to even see. For 28 months before Cage Muscle even released, I broke myself against the world to identify, track, test, and trial the ultimate resources available in human existence to bring you something the world has never seen. Change is upon us. Don't justify your complacency. Evolve with me. Part animal, part machine. I'm Chris Gethin, and I am Cage Muscle.
With the amount of hard work that I put in, I need a reputable brand.
I absolutely love this stuff.
The energy is amazing. The pumps are ridiculous. The flavor is absolutely delicious.
I was blown away by the amount of energy, the muscle pump.
It keeps me going throughout the day.
Take your workouts to the next level.
The energy was so crazy for me.
Really gives me the boost I'm needing in the morning.
You will train harder. You will see better pumps. You will go longer in the gym.
The quality of the ingredients makes a difference.
Try Rise. You're going to love it. I guarantee it.
Their products are top of the range, and I'm very proud to be a part of Team Rice.
All right, guys and girls, welcome back inside the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. Those of you watching on YouTube, this man needs absolutely zero introduction. The one and only Jay Cutler, the 4-time Mr. Olympia Champion. Jay, you're looking jacked, man. I mean, are we September's around the corner? Are we gonna see you step on stage at some point again?
I think I'm just wearing an extra large hoodie today.
and your normal size is what?
I usually wear a 2X just because you still got the arms, man. You know, the arms don't really disappear that much. But.
Well, you still train. I mean, you probably don't train as hard and as intense as you once did, but you're still in the gym clanging and banging and training pretty damn hard.
You know what's funny is I think I train more now than when I was training for Mr. Olympia.
Really? Is it just because you have more? I mean, you don't have more time. You're busy as shit.
I don't have more time, but I need the therapy of the gym.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that follow me from day one and listen to what I have to say often. I didn't start training because I wanted a better body, but I started training more because it was better for my mind when I was 18 and at a crossroad, like I was going to college to be a police officer and I had a family concrete business and I kind of was baffled on what I wanted to do and I had a lot of options. So, you know, I found the gym and that's really where I lost myself for 2 hours a day. I train at like 8 at night till 10 at night. The gym closed at 10 where I live. And that kind of kept me like clear headed. And I think now, you know, I get up every morning. Anyone that follows me on social media, I walk for like almost an hour each morning and I don't do it for more physical activity. I do it more just to set my mind for the day. And then of course I go to the gym and train normally either midday or later in the day. Tonight it will be a bit later. I actually have another interview I got to do for my channel. 11 o'clock tonight. 11 o'clock.
And is this Jay Cutler TV we're talking about?
Yeah, and I'm actually interviewing Josh Lenardowitz.
Yes, he is a beast, dude.
He's an Australian. He's my dark horse for the Arnold Classic, actually.
I
think he's going to shock everybody. And, you know, I wanted to get him on to listen to what he has to say and kind of give him the opportunity to be on my platform. I rode in that opportunity before the Olympia and look what happened. So I'm excited to see what he's bringing to Columbus.
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with Josh, you should be. But he obviously was Dallas McCarver's roommate, or they were close friends when that happened several years ago, unfortunately. But his physique has just blossomed into something absolutely beautiful, And we're outside the Arnold Classic, and he has you said dark horse. I think he has a good shot of doing really well, right? And
remember his rookie year, he came into Arnold. He was third.
Yeah.
First, and then he won Tampa Pro, and I mean he didn't fare as well at the Olympia, obviously after the Dallas incident, because he's the one that found him
for sure,
and it kind of messed him up. He took last year off, and we communicate. So he's a big dude, man. I mean he's 280 now, so he's going to take up a lot of space against some guys that aren't necessarily as big.
Mm-hmm.
We got Brandon Curry and Bonnick, and I mean, Rolly's a monster, but
he's a massive,
besides Rolly, I mean, he made, if Cedric's in shape, these guys could be, battling for those top spots. So I'm excited to see what he has to say and see what the show brings. I'm excited to go watch it, actually.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool. And Jay Cutler TV is a cool concept and a cool platform. We had Matt Porter on a couple weeks ago, who obviously does some stuff for you too. Super intelligent, super open and honest about everything. Very transparent, which is great. I want to ask you, because you've won the Arnold and you've won the Olympia. When you approach both these events, both hugely important. One maybe is considered sort of the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. The one is right there, right? How did you approach each show? Did you approach them the same? Did you approach them differently when you went into them?
I trained, I won 02, 3, and 4. So I won consecutive years, the Arnold. And then I stopped to really focus on the Mr. Olympia. But I really almost did the Arnold as okay, I'm not winning the Mr. Olympia. In 02, I won my first after the controversial 2001 Olympia with Ronnie. And he never would do it again, he said, after that. So, I mean, I was kind of well, I might as well win the second best show. And at the time, of course, the prize money was a lot too. And I think really I looked at it as okay, if I can't win the Mr. Olympia, I'll go win the second biggest show, which would solidify me as the second best bodybuilder on the planet, right? Without any real argument, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because I think in years past, the guy that usually wins the Arnold is a front runner to be a top guy at the Olympia, right? Hence Rolly Winkler going and trying to win the Arnold so he can kind of set himself up for September. But I went in, the mindset, I always gave myself 16 weeks to train for the show, and my off season really didn't differ a lot from pre-contest, other than I traveled for business. So it was kind of nice because I would finish the Olympia, travel like a madman, and then I'd lock it down after Thanksgiving, and I would train for the Arnold, and I would follow the same kind of routine, diet, and everything like that. It's just that, you were competing in a distance place rather than a place where it was in my backyard where the Olympia was every year, because I lived in Las Vegas since 2002. So it was a little tougher for me going to Columbus, but, the crowds were awesome. They always treated me right. Having the Arnold title was a huge achievement for me. I mean, I carried that title for many years. So I always dreamed of winning the Arnold Classic, just like I dreamt about winning the Mr. Olympia. But the Olympia was so elusive. It was that was kind of my justification, was winning the Arnold every year. Mm-hmm. And, I was a proud winner there. And I won the most muscular every year. And I won 3 Hummer trucks. I mean, I won the biggest prizes you could win at that show. It's not the same as it was back then.
Right.
It pays a little more money, but I won 3 trucks. I sold them. I invested in it. I wasn't doing a lot of real estate at the time. So it really financially gave me a great opportunity to get way ahead. And, people don't realize how successful I was outside of the fitness area with the real estate. And that's why I moved to Vegas. I didn't move here strictly because Mr. Olympia was here. I moved here to buy properties, and I bought 7 homes my first year. And I invested, and, I'm still invested in a lot of things nowadays, and it's kind of set me up for, what I do now.
Sure.
And love bodybuilding though. I can honestly say that, I mentioned, I train more. I just love to work out. Yeah. I look forward to going to the gym and training after being in my warehouse all day and working, and, I'm going to go hit the gym tonight, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you look great, and we talked about winning the Arnold Classic, and then you won 4 Olympias, basically 2 years, and then Dexter had his claim of fame, right? And then, but you're at an interesting spot in history, because before you was 8-time champion Ronnie Coleman, and after you was 7-time champion Phil Heath. So like you have these two men, and we had Ronnie on the show, and he said like the biggest heartbreak of his life is when you finally beat him. And I when he took second place, but obviously there's a ton of mutual respect between the two of you. Like when you look at bodybuilding then to now, do you see the sport changing and evolving into something that you enjoy still?
I enjoy looking back at the career of myself and Ronnie. Do I enjoy today's bodybuilders? Not as much. And I think that the magazines portrayed us, like me and Ronnie were built on the magazine background, and they showed our routines, and then we're able to carry it over with our early social media, which was our DVDs, right? Ronnie, we'd go head to head each year by releasing every year with Mitsuru our DVDs. Mitsuru Kabi would come to our homes and film it. So I would always try to not only battle Ronnie Olympia stage, but I would say, okay, I'm going to make a better DVD than his, right? Because we didn't have any social media. So how do you let people into your life? I think today's society, like none of these guys are letting people into their lives enough. There's no magazines to portray these guys that, okay, these are the elite guys, right? So you don't even know, like, there's no hype. And if there's no hype, the expos have taken over. Like the shows used to be the thing, right? You'd go to the Olympia, you'd go to the Arnold. People cared about the shows. I don't even think most of people go to the shows anymore. They go for the expos and, we're going to go to dinner instead of going to the show, because there's not really, even you can go back to like the Kai and Phil Heath battles. Like this year's Arnold, like you think Rolly's going to win because he was third last year. You saw William Bonnick won last year. Is he going to repeat? But these guys went after the Olympia, and you haven't heard from them, right? You don't really hear from these guys, and there's no real hype around it. So for me, it's hard to be a fan of it when there's not a lot. Like these guys aren't really engaging with the fans out there and really working it as much. Rolly's all the way in Kuwait. Yeah. And Bonnick somewhere, I don't even know where Bonnick is. Like I'm who I am, and if you said, Jay, where's William Bonnick? I don't know where he lives. Yeah. And I'm a fan of his. We correspond here and there, but I don't know. They're from foreign places, both of them. Mm-hmm. You're not getting the guys like in the States, like that are training. Brandon Curry's in Kuwait, right? Yeah. He's from Tennessee. Josh is in Australia. Right. You're not going to see him as much. So it's not like I ran into this guy. He looks great training in the gym. This guy from Brazil is looking amazing, which hopefully we're going to get the opportunity to shoot him next week. This Rafael or whatever. He got like third in the Cal Pro last year. He looks amazing. Great lines. I just saw Chris Aceto posted a picture of him. He's doing the show too. So he's going to shock some people, I think.
It's funny you bring up the fact, like, you and Ronnie were putting out DVDs. Like, that is old school social media. Magazines were at, like, a super high. Now it's, like, we have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have these platforms to even, like, friendly add drama into the competition in Vegas or in Columbus. And for me, I was at the last show in which Kai and Phil went, and there was drama there. It almost felt like, to me, I come from the pro wrestling world. Like, I did that for a long time. And for me, it felt like it had that pro wrestling drama to it, and it was kind of fun to watch. But since then, it's been non-existent. Not like you and Ronnie had a ton of that. Like, although you guys liked each other, but it just, people anticipated that matchup year after year. And granted, if it wasn't for Phil going for 8, I don't necessarily know if this last year would have been as anticipated, even if it was, right? Like, what do you think, or is it just take people being more open on social and letting people into their lives to get that back, or do we need like a new breed of bodybuilders to come into the sport to help refresh it?
You need a younger generation, I think, that it will give some light to it. And I hate to say it, but I think you get more action out of the physique guys and the classic physique guys on media. I think showing your physique more. I trained in the gym in a tank top and shorts every day. I didn't give a shit what people thought, sure. And I just think a lot of guys stay covered up now, I watched Sean Roden train at Gold's Venice, and, he's in a snowsuit. I always joke about it, and I always say, like, man, if I was back in shape, I'd be in there in a tank top. And you can look back. I was doing everything in tank tops. Go look at my Jay Cutler TV when I was shooting in 08 and 09, and I was in tank tops. And, like, I understand some people are just comfortable training the way they are, but man, if you want to get exposure and really, set yourself apart, there's just certain things that I would definitely do that would, put myself at a standard,
What'd you wear in public? I mean, I know you mentioned like tank and shorts in the gym. Like in public, did you kind of show off your physique more as well?
I would wear a t-shirt most of the time, but if I went to appearances, I was always in a tank top. If you look back at the Arnold, every year I was in a tank top,
Right.
I wasn't covered up because people are coming to see muscles, man. I mean, that's what people want to see. And
Right.
I'd have, those 3-hour lineups. I still do. But I mean, I wear a t-shirt and sweats now, but more form fitting. I don't wear big baggy oversized clothes, but I'm not anywhere near the size that I was. I mean, but I would wear, something that would show, okay, this is why I'm who I am. And,
Sure.
The people walking by that have no idea who Jay Cutler is, they would know as soon as they turned and their friend said, oh, that's Jay Cutler. They look and say, holy shit, that guy's 300-pound monster,
Yeah.
That's how I won shows, man. I out-muscled people. So I was never trying to be an aesthetic guy. I just want to be as big as possible and with the best lines I could.
Yeah, it paid off. Obviously paid off for you. How do you, after all the years of bodybuilding, and you're not obviously doing that anymore, but like, how do you feel physically overall, your body?
What's funny is I feel great, but I felt not so bad even when I was as big as I was because remember, I was eating a lot of calories and I was 300 pounds and somewhat lean in the off season. And I just ate more carbohydrates usually in my off season. I never was a big protein eater, believe it or not. My protein would never exceed over usually 350 a day. And I would eat 1,000 grams of carbs, but I felt pretty decent. Of course, now that I've dropped some weight, I do feel more slender. But I still train the same. I train a lot, like half as much weight as I did, but my rest times are still 45 to 60 seconds. And I still train a lot of body parts with the same weights that I did, even when I was training, except for of course, the legs and the chest press, shoulder press. I'm not doing the crazy weight that I was because, to be honest, I'm not trying to be bigger. I'm trying to be toned and more in shape. I mean, I'm 45 now. I weigh 245 today. I don't want to gain any more weight. I want to slim down. I want to actually lean down and maintain some muscle fullness. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I said from 4 or 5, I retired 5 years ago. I said the initial plan that I was going to do, and I've stuck to that. I'm slowly downsizing and dropping size and eventually be down to, believe it or not, probably 225, 230. I mean, I'll get there. But, I mean, I feel great. I do, like I said, I do that cardio every day, and I still eat very healthy. I eat a big breakfast, and I have a good meal before and after training. I have, the meals that I eat, which, I have here at my office. So I do carry food with me. So I eat 2.5 to 3 hours, which is ideal for me. And my appetite's there too. My appetite's actually probably more now than when I was competing because that's the only hard part. I was force feeding myself so much food.
Yeah, I think that's a thing I get quite a few people, they don't understand. They have a hard time like trying to cut weight. It's like, actually what's tougher is trying to gain weight and eat all those calories. It is a full-time fucking job. It's not the easiest thing in the world. What is the thing that like you miss the most about being on stage?
I always say the lights, like coming out and the crowd going crazy and the lights. And, I don't go to the Olympias or Arnold's and sit in the audience and think, man, I wish I was up there because I don't envy those guys whatsoever with that transitional time of getting in that kind of shape. I love staying on a great diet and I love doing my cardio, but I hate having to get strided glutes and, lose that little bit of body fat. You really have to suffer a lot. So, and forget about the dehydration. That was the hardest part for me was the cutting the water the last week because I'm a 3-gallon a day drinker. Okay. I still drink 2 gallons of fluid a day and I drink a lot with my meals. So when I had to cut the water, it tortured me. But I don't, I miss, having the people come to Vegas and train with me. I ran kind of like a camp. So I would bring in training partners and I would train to get, turn the intensity up. I would train in the middle of the night because no one else did. I would train, all different times of the day. I would double split training. Sometimes I was in the gym 4 times a day. But, when you get lean and you look at yourself and you're like, man, I can't believe I was able to take off this body fat and hold on to that much muscle. Sometimes I looked at myself and I even said, holy shit, like, wow, what a transformation,
Yeah.
And I missed the day, the heydays of like the supplement, and I was under Muscle Tech contract and like, I was like traveling around the world and they were so big and I was going to these shows and the expos, like it was new faces and people were excited and there was no social media. And like people were just, their look on people's faces when they got to see you for the first time, because remember the magazine, you try to make the guys come alive, right? You watch the videos and that was like Instagram, like you mentioned, early Instagram. But nowadays people can watch us like minute to minute, hour and hour. And believe it or not, like people can get more interactive with us. I respond to DMs and I become friends with my fans. Like we communicate. People have my cell phone number that were fans 2 years ago, because I realized how many great people there are. And I really like communicating with people and meeting people. And that's why I continue to go to these expos and travel around the world. And I don't have to do that stuff, but I really love that I'm still involved and I get a lot of respect in the industry. And the respect comes from my accomplishments, but I just was being me. That's the most amazing. Sure. Just like with social media, like I just act like me, man. And people like, oh man, that's awesome, Jay. You're so cool or whatever. And I'm like, man, it's just me living my life. Right.
Right. It's interesting. You say that you get respect because of your accomplishments. Yes, that's absolutely one part of it. But I texted 13 or 14 people today about you, and everyone had the same exact thing to say. Like, you're a sweetheart of a man. Like, you are down to earth. You're never rude. Like, you're nice to everybody. And being in the spotlight and having to deal with when you're tired and training and just the stresses of running businesses and whatnot, to be able to hold that. To hold that standard for yourself is super impressive, and I think like that's who you are, right? I mean, you're just an overall nice guy.
I can be a dick, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, you catch me on a bad day, but I'm not gonna treat anyone like, if someone comes up and says, "Hey, I want to take a picture," man, it's just a respect thing. It's like I'm not gonna get upset at people. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it totally makes sense. But I mean, like Aaron Singerman and just like the guys from Muscle Tech that we talked about, like everybody was just like, yeah, man, you're love it. He's a good guy. And I think it's fantastic. Listen, man, look, you stepped on stage for the first time in the NPC back in 93 is what it was your bio said. So you're at 19 years old at the time, 18, 19?
Yeah, 92, I actually competed at a local show in Massachusetts. Okay. And then 93, I competed at a qualifying show for the Teen Nationals. I competed against Branch Warren at the Teen Nationals in June.
That's crazy.
He was 17. I was 19, and I lost the overall to him. I won the heavyweights, and he won the light heavies, I think.
Sure.
And he was way more cut, but I had a lot more muscle. Believe it or not, my legs were actually smooth because the cuts weren't there yet. And then, of course, 2 years later, I qualified for nationals and won my pro card, at 23. So it was like I transformed really, really quickly. It came really fast.
So who was your inspirations? Because, I mean, I think back in that day, bodybuilding was probably seen as a pseudo taboo to some people. Like, they didn't understand it. You have the crowd of people who thought, like, if you're big, you're obviously doing something you shouldn't be doing, but like, you love it because it's training, it's iron, it's great. And there's somebody you had to look up to in the magazines that you just couldn't wait to.
Well, listen, I looked up to Dorian Yates. I looked up to Lee Haney, Rich Gaspari. Bob Paris was the first book I read, Beyond Built. He had a training book they sold at GNC. That was the first book I bought to learn how to work out. When I was 16, I actually read that book, and I didn't really start training until I was 18. I did dabble a little bit with weights at 16. I went to a couple Gold's gyms with my buddy in high school was a bodybuilder, so he was like a couple years older. He would take me to the gym, but I didn't know anything about lifting weights. I was a strong kid that would just bench press a lot in football. Sure. But and he would take the meals to school and all that. So I kind of looked at him, and then there were some local guys when I joined the Gold's Gym that I've kind of followed, and they kind of helped me out with diet and training advice. And someone wrote me a program. This guy, Carl Richards, he was like a national bodybuilder, like national level bodybuilder guy. And he kind of took me under the wing a little bit. And, the gym kind of stepped up and gave me some inspiration, a lot of people in there. But I looked at, when I first started looking at physiques, I looked at like Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Sylvester Stallone were like the guys that I looked. And then, of course, I became fans of like Ronnie Coleman and, Chris Dickerson was like the first guy I ever saw like in an old bodybuilding magazine when I was like 12. My sister's boyfriend had a magazine, and he was Mr. Olympia in the 82. I think he won. And I was like, man, I can't believe this guy looks like this, So I was like, this is what I want to look like. And, from then on, I mean, I admired everyone, even when I stood next to Ronnie and Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler and, Flex Wheeler was like, I met him when I was 19 and he was crazy big. Aaron Baker, people names you probably wouldn't even know. David Dirth was like, I was like crazy, like enthused to meet him. And, I saw like Chris Cormier. I saw Paul DeMeo was like an idol of mine. He was from Mass. Mike Matarazzo, both guys passed away now. So many guys. The list goes on and on. But it's amazing to be able to be in a business where I looked at those guys and like, man, those are my idols. And then eventually I had more accolades than my idols, right?
Yeah. Right.
When your idols become your rivals and then your rivals you kind of beat your rivals, right? And that's what happened with Ronnie. I felt bad beating Ronnie Coleman because he was going to win 9,
Yeah, you talk about this actually on his DVD as well, right?
Nah, I get a little emotional because I just, me and Ronnie have a lot of history and, and he's a solid guy. Like, it's just terrible to see what he's going through now,
Yeah, it's so awful. Yeah, it's just so
and
awful.
He's okay with it. Like he's holds his head up, and
he's still traveling to like Colombia and doing these expos to be there for the fans.
He was just there because he loves it, but those battles, man, I can't tell you, I can't express in words what it was like to stand on stage with the greatest bodybuilder probably in history that we'll ever see physique wise, and he was such a humble dude. And I just look forward to all I gave a shit was to stand next to Coleman at the Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about winning. Like it was just every time I won 75 grand or 100, which was second. And then when I won it, it was like, oh, someone reminded me you just won 150,000 or whatever. I didn't give a shit about the money. It was like, I was just like wanted to battle Ronnie.
Yeah.
And that's really what it came down to, because that's what the fire, like if I said, this is my obstacle, if I can overcome this obstacle, then I used to pray. I said, God, I will not ask for anything in my life other than to beat Ronnie Coleman, And then when I did it, it was like, damn, like it was kind of surreal. And I just watched his emotions and he was like, devastated because like to win 9, right? That could have been, that's why I was kind of surprised. I thought Heath would win 8. He still could, if he comes back. But I just think, Ronnie was just a different standard, And you remember, I was on, Phil was under me, like he was my guy. And I think Phil has an amazing physique, but I don't think it holds a candle to what Ronnie Coleman had,
Ronnie was a statue, man. Like it's just, you look at it, it doesn't look real. It's just unbelievable. And it's a big dude, but he looked good. And those battles and like watching his documentary was great. Speaking to him was great. And you mentioned like, he's just a good person. And he's like seeing him in Colombia, I was just like, for you to get on a plane and for you to make this trip and the conditioning, because you're not, obviously like his back and everything. It's like, he loves his fans. He loves he loves this sport, and you do too, obviously. So it's really cool. So like you mentioned, like you don't have to do these things, but you do. And like him, yeah, he's attached to a brand, but he doesn't go. He can just let Brennan and team do it, right? But he goes.
No one tells him that he has to go.
Right.
His company, right? The company does very well, actually.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. I don't think he was there last year. I went last year,
Sure.
But I don't think he was there the year prior. But it's just amazing that he can sit there. And I know he wasn't standing because I don't know how his health is at this point, But it's just awesome to see that, And he seemed happy.
Well, it's cool, like to see him attached to his brand, having actually like being a part of it. Does really good overseas. The one thing, like, and we're going to talk about Cutler Nutrition here, is like it seems like the bodybuilders that are attached to a supplement brand have a hard time in the States, and I think it's because it goes back to several different products maybe that didn't get the love that they wanted. And you at once upon a time actually were with BPI. You had Cutler Nutrition, right? And what I'm doing here is like for what we do at Fitness Informant, we look at labels, we dive into them, and I'm thinking like. From what you had at BPI to what you have now, it is night and day, Jay. Like this is a completely different. Like I'm not surprised, but like I'm surprised because like you have a big name. It's not necessarily like you have to really, in a business sense, give a really good product. But your new pre-workout Prevail is amazing. I just want to read some of these ingredients because I don't think that people are going to understand this either. Per 2 scoops, 4 grams of citrulline, that's clinically dosed. 2 grams of taurine, phenomenal. Tyrosine alpha GPC at 750 milligrams. You don't see that at all. and you have 500 micrograms of huperzine A. So this is like a focus factor pre-workout. This thing is loaded. How did this happen? Like, how did we go from legend, which I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm just saying, like, this is night and day different. This is amazing.
Yeah, you know what? People are smarter now, okay? And listen, I had a great partnership with BPI, and they gave me a huge opportunity. I'm very close with them. Derek, who owns the company, he gave me an opportunity. I was going to start my own brand back in 2012, I think. I was going to do this brand called Alpha Helix. And I partnered up with a couple people to kind of help me. It really didn't go as I wanted it to go. So BPI was growing at the time. They came at me. We wanted to launch an international brand. So we were looking at that market because at the time, we knew that internationally I would be a hit, right?
Right.
You just mentioned it's very hard for a bodybuilder to sell products in the States. Well, I rode under that for, years, obviously. And because of the big business that they're in, okay, they're a lot of mainstream places now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of compliance, it kind of limited me what I could really launch out and still have a partnership with a sister brand like that, right? So, I think everything progressed and the internet got more savvy with label claims and companies got called out and the transparency of products became more important for people. And not only that, but where you manufacture your stuff makes a lot of difference.
Super important.
So I said, you know what? We kind of like came to terms on, listen, I want to continue. I want to build this brand. I want to do something different. I want to focus more direct to consumer. I want to kind of handle on the day to day because I wasn't necessarily doing that because I was so traveling like crazy and I was down in Florida, but I wanted to basically bring the operation to Las Vegas. So, we severed ties and now I rebranded all the packaging and obviously the label. I mean, the whole name Cutler Nutrition now is different.
It's beautiful packaging, by the way. Like it looks aesthetically amazing.
Back to white. I got rid of the purple. And I went to more almost like clinical type looking labels, right? And I jacked up all these products as much as I could to be compliant also internationally. But, I want to be able to give the people, I want to be able to hold my bottle to my phone and say, or to my YouTube channel and say, read this label.
Mm-hmm.
Let me stand up against any products out there because I feel that, I'm not doing people do certain things for different reasons, right? I have a lot of ventures that I do, but I want to be the best at what I do. I want a legacy, right?
Right.
So this is kind of like my legacy brand where I'm going to be very successful. I'm sure of that. And I'm glad we're on record saying this because I'm just going to do it right. I mean, I have a game plan. I have a good scope on what I need to do because I've learned a lot over the time.
Right.
And, the direct side is going to be strong for me. I'm doing a big push on social media with my fans. And I get a lot of feedback's been great because they taste great too, the products.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to, give people the quality that they want. And, I'm manufacturing close to where I live, which is in Utah. And I'm hands-on with everything. And anyone that knows that orders from me or has dealt with me, I handle a lot of customer service, believe it or not. So a lot of the emails that I send out, if there's any issues or people have questions, or I handle all that stuff.
That's awesome, dude. And you're shipping some of the stuff too.
I'm shipping, doing my free J mail now, which is like 5, I do about 5 different tips a week, which people just subscribe free to my J mail. And I'm giving people I'm trying to give back to what created me now. And yes, it's taking a ton of my time, but I love to work. I mean, I kind of stepped away a year or two ago and I said, what do I really want to do? And I got into some other ventures that I was very successful with. And now I just, I made this decision to really launch this supplement thing and launch some great products. I already have 3 other products now on the back burner that I'm ready to drop once this thing, I've only been rolled out for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of things that I want to do, and I'm going to be behind it 100%. And all the content's going to basically be me to start off. And hopefully I can, continue to make people happy. That's all I really want to do, and give them great products.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you as we're going here, getting ready for this podcast. Like I'm saying, I'm looking at this beautiful pre-workout label because like I was shocked at how well it was dosed, and I'm only saying that, like I said, because traditionally, like Arnold's Muscle Farm series was very low dosed. Even your Cutler Legend was like a 375 prop blend, and you're getting like a massive dosage in this thing. So you have right now, I think there's 5 products, right? There's Generate, Sculpt, Triumph, Prevail, and Amplify is what's under the line. You have, it sounds like you have 3 more coming.
The Amplify, I'm stoked about because, you know, this is a pump and a hydration product, which someone like me at 45 or people that train late, like we don't want to take any stim at all, or even anything that's going to keep us. And not to say like, my product's not high stim, the Prevail pre-workout, but it's a focused product, right? So it does get you a little more focused on things, and it's got the neurofactor in there and everything like that. But I have 5 grams of citrulline in the Amplify.
Yep.
And with that, I mean, alone, and plus the Himalayan sea salt, and of course, you know, you've got some coconut powder. I mean, you've got it's hydrating pump. That's really what I thrive off. And I talk about the only thing I look to when I go in the gym, I don't give a shit how much weight I push. I want to get like mind-blowing pumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
If food isn't going to do it, you need a little pick-me-up to do it, which the Amplify is awesome. It has no stem, so you can stack it, but you can take it on its own too. And I mean, I don't suggest everyone out there, hey, every day take a pre-workout with I didn't do that in the beginning. I'll be honest. I mean, and as far as branched chain aminos, I mean, now with the essential aminos, I mean, everyone's get a little more, like I said, they've learned now a little bit how products work. And I feel it's just a great combination, you know?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Amplify pump pre-workout right now too, and it's got, like you mentioned, 5 grams of citrulline, 2 grams of taurine, 1.5 of creatine hydrochloride, coconut water power, grapeseed extract. For those who don't know what grapeseed extract is, it's very similar to Vaso 6 from Compound Solutions. Okay, so like it's going to help with that. And pink Himalayan salt, it's great. And like your EAA product, also I think it's like 7.2 grams of EAAs, which is on point with what's going on. So overall, like everything that I see on this line so far coming out is refreshing. It's awesome. So for those listening who are thinking, oh great, another bodybuilding supplement series come out, like this is a legit supplement series, and coming from me, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. Like I would love it. I would use it, right? And I'm assuming you use it.
I give away units every week. So watch
my
Instagram because
I see it all the time. So you have 3 products on the back burner. Can you tell us what categories one of them are or what they might be?
Well, one's a kind of more of a clarity product. Okay. I do have commodity products too, which of course is simple. Creatine, that kind of stuff. I mean, the protein is finished now. So I am using a protein now. There may be a little trickery with the protein. I might do something fancy, but I am going to launch an isolate protein and obviously a weight gainer for my international people. But I have one other product that I'm not going to mention that I'm just, you know, and listen, I talked about this. There's going to be sleep product because sleep is super important, right?
You're right. Yeah.
But I can only launch so much. So I am working on one product in particular that I will talk about at some point, but I kind of going to keep it under wraps for now.
No, that's great. I'm glad that like you have a big picture view of like what's going on, obviously. And then, you know, it's impressive when we talked about, you said, you're in real estate. And for people who in this, I'm not saying like everybody, but like in the sport, you make the money. Sometimes you want to spend it. Sometimes you want to show off like your bling and your showcase. You must have gotten some really good financial advice early on from somebody. Like did you have like a mentor maybe in your life that kind of like said, Jay, dude, you need to invest. You need to take care of yourself long-term?
My dad, you know, dad, my brothers, but I did have someone that helped me early on with business, and, you know, realized, you know, who really, I'll tell you, and this is, I haven't really mentioned this that much, but you know, who really pushed me to get into real estate was Joe Weider.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, he was a smart businessman, so.
Joe Weider was my mentor, but another guy, Chris Aceto, who does diets for a lot of these top guys, he's a huge real estate guy, and people don't really know that either because he's not very out there with his business. But, you know, he also, I remember when I moved to California and I won the Night of Champions, and I remember I won 15 grand. And at the time, like that was like, okay, it was a good to get a big chunk of money like that, right? I bought my first house in California with that. I took that money and I put it down on my house, and then eventually it rolled like that. And then I started winning and getting more money, and I sold that property, and I think I made $100,000 on that. And I moved to Vegas and I just flipped houses, and I was turning money on different projects. And then I got into commercial properties as it expanded, you know. But a lot of good mentors, a lot of good people that advised me, invest, don't spend. And listen, you know, I drove fancy cars, I have big homes, and did it all. I mean, but to me, like, I was able to do that when I was able to do it. You know what I mean? I won 3 Hummer trucks. I sold them all. I traded, you know, and I remember one year I sold and built my pool in Las Vegas with that. So I was very fortunate to be on top for such a long time, and I still feel that I'm on top because I'm still requested to come so many places, and I'm blessed that the fans still want to see me, and I still can represent bodybuilding the way that I do. But I still get excited, man. I still get excited to travel. It's awesome.
That's good. I got to ask you too before we wrap this up. You know, we talked about how you won 2 years and then Dexter won a year. Does that guy ever fucking age? I mean, he is just—it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I said it, you know, it's always out there. Like, I gave the Olympia to him, you know, I had no business losing because, you know, I had, you know, a lot more muscle, and I was balanced enough. I just didn't come in shape, and he was just amazing that year. But I felt like last year, I mean, he slipped a little bit at the Olympia. He fell back, I think the 7th last year, but I think he'll be back. I mean, he's big as hell right now. He said he's going to 270 in the off season, and usually he's in LA right now, though. He's training in Jacksonville, but man, he kind of defies all odds. And like, I always admired Dexter's physique. And I know in the beginning, like, he used to eat McDonald's every day. He's really cleaned up his act to really maintain a better body now. You know, he eats very clean now. He's very dedicated. He's I think he's 49 now. But gosh, I talk about Ronnie being the greatest bodybuilder ever. I mean, Dexter Jackson's right there, man. Like, you listen, Lee Haney, we talk about, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these people, but Dexter, like, just, I mean, if you want to look at decorated bodybuilders, he's the most winningest, I think, of all time, right?
It's got to be. I think you're probably right, for sure.
But I never related to Dexter's physique because I wasn't shorter and a smaller physique. I was a mass monster. I didn't have a small waist. I out-muscled guys. I was hard enough when I needed to be to win a lot of shows. And Dexter, like, you know, we came on at the same time. People don't realize Dexter Jackson and I came on. Our first show in the pros we were at the 99 like season. We did the Arnold Classic together, and then, you know, he moved up, you know, with me. He was right there with me, and eventually, you know, winning the Mr. Olympia, which is history, right?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you've obviously competed against some of the best in the world. You've had some of the best in the world be your mentors, your idols, and now your friends, right? Like, I mean, it's pretty cool that you're able to look up to these people, walk on stage with these people, and stand next to them, as you mentioned with Ronnie Coleman. You look great. You look healthy. I'm super stoked for your line. I do know if people are wanting to purchase from you, it's cutlernutrition.com. People are interested in wholesaling because we have a lot of accounts that listen to this as well. Like, the options on the site, they can reach out, contact. Right now, you're direct to consumer. Are you in brick and mortar as well?
I have an Amazon store also, so it's keeping the price integrity. Like, this is one of those brands where I'm very, very cautious on where I'm putting it right now, and I am getting a ton of people hitting me up about wanting to carry the product. I've put it in a couple locations other than my own because I've had relationships with certain people and they do not sell online. But I really, you know, I sell on Amazon. I only want it on my Amazon store and mostly my website. I don't want to really deal if stores want to hit me up. Listen, I may open up later, but right now I want to get traction with the brand. And when people start coming in the stores and asking for it, then, you know, we can talk about, you know, a process. That's all.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you should build it the way you want to build it, right? The pricing integrity is such a big thing that we could spend a whole podcast talking about map pricing and violations and all that stuff. So
I'm ecstatic about it's better than what I thought it would be. And I had high expectations, but every day. But listen, I'm using it every day on social, and like I said, I'm giving stuff away, and, you know, I feel that the quality's there. It's going to sell itself. I mean, the feedback's been tremendous. The people that have tried it. And, keep putting your reviews up there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're at Jay Cutler on Instagram. It's Jay Cutler TV on YouTube. It's Cutler Nutrition on Facebook, cutlernutrition.com. I appreciate you doing this, man. I know you have a bunch going on. You got to train yet tonight, so we'll wrap this up. We'll push out the brand for you guys. Congratulations. It's very impressive. So I just want to, as a fan of sports nutrition and bodybuilding, I want to personally thank you for everything you've done for the sport. Thank you for coming out with a product line that's reputable and respectable, and keep repping this industry the way you do. Because I mean, you're a class act stand-up guy. That's so much fun to watch. All right, guys, that was just awesome. Like, I literally just sit here and I think about when have I ever in my life thought I was going to speak to two men combined has 12 Olympia championships, right? Ronnie Coleman with 8, Jay with 4. I have their personal cell phones. I text them. We're I wouldn't say we're best friends, right? But they respond back to me when I need to, and it's just really cool. It's really cool to have that feeling. It's really cool they give us the time of day and that they support our platforms, and they support what we're doing for this industry and what we're doing for the business in general, fitness and health. So for me, that's super humbling and super great. And Jay was amazing here on the podcast. He was amazing at the Arnold Classic. Super stoked for Jay and his line. We'll have full reviews here at fitnessinformant.com. If you don't recall, fitnessinformant.com's Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. This podcast is actually going to be going to a weekly podcast. So this will be available every Tuesday now on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, starting with this Jay Cutler one. So next Tuesday, there'll be another podcast dropping. We're working on the guest right now, the Gorilla Chemist. Might be the slot in there. We talked to him at the Arnold Classic, talk about his new line, Chemex. So a lot of stuff coming out. Like I said, a lot of content, weekly podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on all those platforms. And again, do us a huge favor, rate, review, and subscribe. It helps out with those algorithms on things like iTunes and Spotify as well. For all things FI related, which would be supplement rankings, reviews, deals, news, fitness routines, workout plans, nutrition plans, and fitness articles and more. Make sure you check us out on our official website, fitnessinformant.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels at Fitness Informant on Instagram, facebook.com/Fitness Informant, youtube.com/Fitness Informant TV, and at Fit Informant on Twitter. We're also still on Snapchat. It's probably just not as active as we once were, as it's not a super active platform anymore, at least from what I could tell. So, again, everybody who came up to us at the Arnold Classic, if you listen to this podcast and you came and took a picture with us, or you came in and talked with us, thank you. I mean, to me, it means everything. And in the future, as we grow and as we get bigger, and as our YouTube channel grows and more people recognize who I am and what we're doing, like literally, please stop and say hi. So we'll be in Vegas for the entire Olympia weekend, which is 6 months away. I get it. But just if you're making plans to go to the Olympia in Vegas, hit me up, DM us, reach me out at my email. It's ryan@fitnessinformant.com. That's my personal email. I will respond back as quickly as I possibly can. Facebook message, whatever it might be. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to get a workout in with you. We'll be working out there at the Lift Factory, which is a little bit off, from the main area, but it's definitely worth it. And you might get to meet some pretty cool people, because I know Jay Cutler works out there. I know Dennis Wolf works out there when he's in town. So a lot of people that I'm kosher with, that I get along with, that I could, obviously have their phone numbers with, are going to be there. So try to get those lifts in. So again, thank everybody. I can't leave this podcast without just having to basically tip my hat. Literally, if you're watching on YouTube, that's what I'm doing. To each and every single one of you guys and girls who have supported me and this brand since day one. That includes all the brands who have worked with us. Like I said, once upon a time, I was pleading for time with these people, and the tides have changed. They are reaching out and wanting to work with us. A company called us. This is exactly a quote from the Arnold Expo. Fitness Informant is the brand that can make or break brands. Now, I'm not saying I'm trying to intentionally break a brand, but to put that type of, weight on what we're doing means that what we're doing means something, and we're accomplishing exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And for me, it's more so my priority number one has been, impacting your lives in a positive way, whether it be your pocketbooks, helping you financially because you're investing in products that actually work for you. If it's writing you a workout plan in which is going to help you achieve that weight loss that you've been trying to, if it's motivating you, whatever it might be, man. This is what I'm all about. I'm all about you. I'm all about our fans, the followers, the people who believe in FI, because none of this would be possible without any of you. So thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. Seriously, thank you. I'm stoked about being able to do this full time. I'm stoked about waking up, tomorrow morning, if you're listening on Tuesday, the day this comes out, and not having to drive into an office and not having to answer to anybody but myself, and to be able to grow this platform and bring everybody along with the ride. Because it's just begun, This ride has literally just begun, and it's going to be extremely fun. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you tune in weekly now to our podcast and check us out online, our official website, which is fitnessinformant.com.